Hi everyone, and welcome to what may be the shortest episode of what I've been watching, because this last weekend I only watched the Star Wars sequel trilogy, mostly because I'm a glutton for punishment, and I bought the Rise of Skywalker a few months ago just to finish out the series, because I bought the other two. I might as well buy the third one even though I didn't like the film. So it was on a stack of Blu-rays I needed to watch, so I thought maybe if I watch the entire trilogy in a single day, maybe I'll like the third film more. So let's start with J.J. Abrams' The Force Awakens, which I think the initial fan reaction was very positive, and I think after a while that kind of died down when everyone started to realize this is simply just A New Hope over again. Which is a fine place to start a movie trilogy. I mean, it already started one, it might as well start the next one. And I think it does a nice job of developing the new characters. It has some cool set pieces. The reveal of the Millennium Falcon still brings goosebumps to my skin. Has some beautiful sequences, including that's one hell of a pilot shot, which I really like. And it does some cool things, but it hits all the marks a Star Wars film, start of a trilogy, should. Which means, ultimately, while it is fun to watch and revisit, it's not necessarily world-changing. They left most of that to the second film, Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. It's a very divisive film. I still really enjoy it, as it tries to set up Star Wars in a place that will grow with a new set of fans. I think it's relatively successful at that by bringing in parts of the books and parts of canon that haven't been used before. I don't think it's fully successful as a film. There are some sequences that I think are bordering on the Phantom Menace bad. I'm looking at you, Canto Bite. But I'm always struck when I watch The Last Jedi at how beautiful this film is. It's the best looking of all the Star Wars films. And also what I was struck by this time around was how well this film flows from sequence to sequence. The transitions between all the different set pieces is pretty flawless. It works really well transition-wise. And while some fans had a very negative reaction to the film, I had a very positive one. And I felt like the broom boy at the end of the movie, looking at the stars, wondering what might come next. And what came next was J.J. Abrams' The Rise of Skywalker. And what this movie is a microcosm of all the problems that were plaguing Lucasfilm at the time of this film's release, and leading up to it. And that includes the massive amount of reshoots that went into Rogue One. Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm tried to pass it off as just being part of the filmmaking experience. But when the film came out, it became relatively clear that the entire third act was reshot, and not reshot by the original film's director, Gareth Edwards, but was written and reshot by Tony Gilroy. The removal of Colin Trevorrow as the director of the third main sequel film. The removal of Lord and Miller from Solo, A Star Wars Story, replaced by Ron Howard, who then reshot a good 70% of the movie. Solo is a really ugly film, by the way. It just looks bad. It's muddy. It's the exact opposite of The Last Jedi. So with J.J. Abrams not having a plan for all three movies, not handing a plan to Rian Johnson, meant that Rian Johnson didn't have a plan for J.J. Abrams, and this train was headed for disaster. And guys, The Rise of Skywalker is awful. Star Wars has never been a MacGuffin hunt before, and this movie's a MacGuffin hunt. It's let's go to the place to get the thing so we can find the other thing to get to a place. If you have an entire film about a MacGuffin, and I can't remember what your MacGuffin's name is, Jedi Finder? Jedi Leader? It doesn't matter. Any character moments that could have been built on from The Last Jedi were disposed of in The Rise of Skywalker. Finn and Poe might as well be the same character. Daisy Ridley's Rey is as bland as a character could possibly be. I feel like Rian Johnson really put the series in a position to develop concepts like, you know, Snoke being just another guy that filled a power vacuum, or Daisy Ridley's Rey not having any lineage, but that's okay because our lineage doesn't matter. But nope, J.J. Abrams just said, yep, lineage matters. Forget everything you just heard. As well as The Last Jedi flowed, The Rise of Skywalker flows just as bad as any bad movie you've ever seen. Any moment that might have been dramatic or interesting either pays off or is resolved in the next sequence. Nothing lingers in this movie. Things and problems are just thrown away constantly, which makes the movie very, very frustrating. As do the scenes with Carrie Fisher. And I know JJ was working against the fact that Carrie Fisher died. If I fault Rian Johnson for anything, and I do, among those things I fault him for are not killing off Princess Leia when he had a chance. Like most of the things in this series of films, it was punted to the next director. But man, those Carrie Fisher scenes in The Rise of Skywalker are very stunted. I mean, you have Daisy Ridley saying an entire monologue of dialogue, and it cuts to Carrie Fisher and she says, yes. It's just so bad. But like I said, the film is a microcosm of this poor decision-making process that was going on at Lucasfilm at the time. And in my initial review for the film, I said that The Rise of Skywalker makes the entire sequel trilogy a huge waste of time. And while that's not entirely true, because I think each of the first two films have moments that are either visually interesting or intellectually interesting, I watched all three of these movies in a day and I felt like I wasted my time. And that's mostly because this one didn't stick the landing. So, thoughts on the Star Wars sequel trilogy? At least The Mandalorian's pretty good. See you guys next week. Thanks for watching.